Hello, this is Dr. Fur. I am CEO and President of Herald Square Psychology in New York and in Tokyo. The websites are heraldsquarepsychology.com and therapist4me.jp. And we have a Patreon page at the channel called Bunny Therapy. Please check out the description below for all three. And today we're going to talk about some mindfulness techniques. And in particular, today we're going to talk about the guest house. And the guest house is a poem, and I can see the eye roll right now. But it's a really great way to teach mindfulness. Now, what is mindfulness? I've taught mindfulness and all that, and I used this poem in the mindfulness class. And it's a way of trying to frame your experience in life, not as what you see and think and feel and all that, but more like the ticker tape down at the bottom of like your favorite news channel. That everything's sort of flowing, that your mind is constantly in motion. It's never still. And what we want to do is, rather than get all twisted up and swept away with what our brains are telling us, we want to pay attention to those things and simply watch the show, sort of like watching a waterfall, with each thought and memory and feeling and urge and emotion as a little drop of water. And if you've ever been in a waterfall, it can be overwhelming because you can't see anything, there's no perspective. But if you step on the outside and look at it, then you can watch the flow. And there's a value in that. And I have a definition of mindfulness that I sort of honed over the classes that I taught over time. And it's to bring awareness and attention to private events, moment by moment, non-judgmentally, in service of getting our needs met. And so let me just quickly elucidate on those. We want to bring awareness and attention. We want to see what our brains and bodies are telling us, and our bodies are really what our brain is telling us. So we want to bring attention to those things. We don't want to distract. We don't want to avoid. We want to pay attention to what's happening as it happens. So we want to bring awareness and attention. We want to look at what's going on, what our brains are telling us, and we want to bring in awareness and attention to the private events. And private events are everything that happens from this side of the skin inwards. We're talking about memories. We're talking about emotions. We're talking about feelings and thoughts and dreams and itches and pain and anything that happens only inside your body that only you can experience. There are public events, like you can sit here and look at a video and everybody can watch you looking at a video, but nobody can see what's going on inside of your head. So we want to bring awareness and attention to those private events moment by moment, meaning as they occur, because our minds can make up, there is no past really. You can see evidence of the past in the present, but right now everything that happened in the past is just a memory, and we make it up. We try and do an experiment and have a conversation with somebody, and then stop them at the end and say, okay, what happened just now in, like, say 2 minutes? What did we say? And what each person says is going to be remembered differently. What was the light outside? What was I wearing? Did I sneeze? Did I blink a lot? Or anything that happens, when our minds summarize things that happened. They're not video cameras, and as we know, video cameras themselves are very unreliable in terms of what actually happened. You know this by using your camera and taking a photo of like a concert or a sunset, and it doesn't quite capture what you saw. So we want to bring awareness and attention to private events moment by moment, because we only have now. This is right now, and there's a power in now, because then you get to choose what happens next, right? And you can sit there and worry about the future, the conversation with the boss tomorrow while you're lying in bed, but you're making up a future that hasn't quite existed, and you're doing it in the present. You're getting swept away into a fictitious future, when in fact what you need to do, like say you're anxious in bed, is be like, oh, right now my private event is anxiety, and it's happening right now, and I'm being sucked into an imaginary future, rather than going to sleep, because there's nothing you can do about tomorrow. Right? So we want to bring awareness and attention to private events moment by moment, non-judgmentally. So when it comes to public events, like somebody and say, okay, that's bad. But your private events, they're just thoughts and feelings, and they are neither good nor bad, and you don't need to judge them. People have all sorts of forbidden and taboo ideas or secret little things going on in their minds, and they're neither good nor bad. It's just something the brain makes up. Same thing with pain. People have varied experiences with pain, and pain is usually there to just keep you alive and make sure that you're safe. It's neither good nor bad. It's just something your body does. So the risk of judging these things, like say, for example, I did what Shohei Ohtani did, and I screwed up a thing called a labrum in my shoulder, and it's very painful. But it directs me and tells me, get to the doctor and address the situation. The pain itself is uncomfortable, and it's unwanted, and it's inconvenient because it limits what I can do now. But it lets me know, since I'm paying awareness and attention to that private event as it happens, I'm not going to judge the pain as bad, because if I think the pain shouldn't be there, it's going to subjectively make me feel more pain, more often, more intensely, and more frequently than if I say to myself, this is where I'm at, I've got pain in my shoulder, and it's going to help me go where I want to go, which is the next part, which is the private events are used. We want to bring awareness and attention to the private events moment by moment, non-judgmentally, in service of achieving our goals and living according to our values. And speaking of values, Rumi, who wrote The Guest House, which is the poem that I want to go over, lived 800 years ago. He was a Sufi mystical Muslim, and they were very peaceful people, and this was a long time ago, and he lived on the steppes of Asia, and the Mongols were coming through, and they just were taking over everything. They rode horses, and they were pretty brutal, but they were really effective at building an empire that stretched all the way from the shores of Korea all the way to Europe. And he had to flee them, and he ran off to Persian, where he wrote in Persian, and his son actually established the whirling dervishes, which is just this delightful thing where you can see the meditation going on. Anyway, so when you're traveling a long way, at this time, there was this like tradition in this kind of Muslim Middle Eastern world of when you're weary and you show up at a door, that there's an honor and art to accepting in a guest and treating each guest honorably, right? And making sure that they're safe so they get where they want to go, which goes along really nicely with my definition of mindfulness, which is to bring awareness and attention to new visitors, your emotions, your thoughts, your memories, and to treat them honorably, not judge them as good or bad, in service of achieving your goals and getting where you want to go and get your needs met. So this is pretty cool, right? So let's go to the guest house and hear what he had to say 800 years ago. And mindfulness is enjoying research lately. And Morita of Japan, where I'm at right now, actually came up with this when he was a contemporary of Freud's. But let's just move on to Rumi, 800 years ago, fleeing the Mongols, living in Persia, and this is the poem he came up with to sort of explain how to deal with life and your inner psychic world, your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings. And so it's the guest house, and your body and your mind are the guest house, and the emotions, feelings, thoughts, urges, pains, physical sensations, all of that stuff are the guests. Ready? Okay, let's start. The guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in, and be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So you can see how this comports really nicely with mindfulness, that your inner experience comes and it's constantly flowing. It's a visitor. It's coming and going. We don't want to get all twisted up and wrapped up in these thoughts and feelings and fantasies about what you're going to do to that person or this person. What you want to do is you want to recognize that it's happening right now and treat each event in your mind, each private event, honorably, and not judge it as good or bad, and welcome and entertainment. It will pass. It will pass. What's important is to recognize that when it's happening and use it to get you where you want to go next, because there is no future, but in the present you can decide what you want to do next, and you can reflect on a recreated past to sort of help you get yourself together, compose yourself in terms of recognizing what's happening, what's important, and then moving forward. That doesn't mean be calm. Sometimes you need to be on point. Sometimes you need a little bit of anxiety. Anxiety is neither good nor bad. It's a welcome guest and actually can make you really effective at what you're doing if you don't get all carried away with it. And the mindfulness in this poem can help you. And I really like the idea of welcoming and entertaining them all. And you'll notice the line where he says, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. This is a guy fleeing from horse-riding hordes of conquerors who are coming and could and likely did take his house and swept it empty of his furniture. So it's not just a metaphor, it's real life. And this guy used this situation, and his family ran off to Persia, and they established, and he became this like legend in human history. His son founded the Whirling Dervishes, and it's just a beautiful way to frame your life. So I hope this was helpful. Bunny therapy.